We don't want to want. All the old strategies start kicking in. It's like the toolkit that we carried from our families of origin comes into play. It's inevitable. And so the self-validating part of ourselves, the yellow and the red, slowly starts to get replaced by the blue strategic self. The more the person becomes important, the more this takes place. We start backing up. The authentic selves back up. I start looking out cautiously instead of coming out bravely. I start to distance, and she starts to pursue. This is what's in her toolkit, and this is what's in mine. This is what we learned how to do. I start to distance I'm frightened. I'm going to lose myself. Somebody's important. I'm going to get swept up here. I even said to her once, I said, you're going to suck the very life right out of me. Doesn't she look like a vulture? And she is as fast as I'm running away, she's running forward in pursuit of getting a self reflected back to her. I'm running from being engulfed by that female or mother energy, and she's running to get her father. She overfunctions, I underfunctions. She knows how, I know how. So as soon as I become important to Catherine started focusing on being the good girl, the chameleon that adjusted to any of my running around. I started looking out trying to figure out how I could put in the minimal effort to avoid being swallowed up and losing myself and underfunction, and at the same time, I still wanted the approval. I worked very hard at keeping my distance, at the same time, give me your approval, because if that's where I'm other focused. I need her approval, because if I don't get her approval, then it's like I'm my father. One way for her to get me running back is to disapprove of me, to leave the room. It's one of the biggest things that she'd ever get on me. So we'd be in the middle of something, and she would just get up and leave the room, and I would just die. I am being rejected. I am bad. And I would chase her to the other room. And I am distancing with this kind of impression, this kind of message to her that you're not important. Right? I don't want to want, and I'm going to convey the message, you're not important. But I am not distancing because she's not important. I am distancing because she is. Like all of you reflecting in your own relationships about the distancer, think about that. He's not or she's not distancing because you're not important. He or she's distancing because you actually are, because they have to. That's how much power you have. And so, again, in this stereotype, and I want you to hold on to this one, because when this one came through me, it just kind of summarized this whole dynamic that goes on in a relationship. Men, for the most part, fall into the category of sacrificing major aspects of a we to have a me. And women, for the most part, sacrifice major aspects of a me in order to have a we. And both are extremely defeating in the long run. So this is really important to understand. This dynamic of what I'm talking about here will explain more of the dysfunction that goes on in the relationship than 99% of the books we read about dysfunction in relationship. this underlying dynamic of lowly differentiated cells trying to figure out how to survive or get what they think they need. It's very important to understand. And none of this kicks in until somebody's important. So I'm sure you could say, I'm never like that with my friends. I'm never like that at work. I'm never like that at a nightclub. It's really frightening when somebody has power. And what I want to impress on you before the end of the evening as well is appreciate how much power you have if you're in a relationship. And to really think about what a special privilege that is to have that amount of power with somebody and start respecting it. So incrementally over time, we become more and more important to each other. Get a house, you have kids, have a mortgage, start a business together. More and more importance, and the other person is having more and more power. And you will thus have more and more fears from your undifferentiated self that runs and pleases, doing things as a way of trying to keep her close enough to not hurt me, and distracting her from the real problem that I'm not really close to her. Maybe I can do enough to get her approval without her having to get too close to me. But the real me is kept hidden through all of that. And the same for her. She seeks, desires, and needs profoundly and represents it with this nice girl. But this is her strategic self, not her real self. And the nice girl can also get angry in her unique kind of way, which nice girls can do, too. The strategies stop working, and it just doesn't pay off, and you finally blow up, and you have a big scene. But in truth, underneath it all, what we're experiencing is the other one has power, and we're at each other's mercy. And we don't want them to know that. But we're actually both equally gridlocked. Can you appreciate that? Can you see that? That it's not just the distancer that is the problem. The pursuer is driven by the same anxiety. And equally focused on the other for validation. I hope that's beginning to make sense to you, because it's really important to break that myth and know that you are who you sleep with.